This is my 2001 suit. Let's talk about it.
What's up guys, my name is Midnight Maker and today I'll be doing a video where I talk to you guys about my Amazing Spider-Man 1 suit. Now before I get started, a little disclaimer, this is not a finished costume. I am not totally done this thing, and so it is going to be in a sort of half-finished state. But I will be explaining to you guys kind of the things that I'm going to be doing to it to make it better, more accurate, more interesting, all the above. Well, the camera just fell. Sorry about that. So, it's not shouting to the mic. So, talking a bit about the suit itself. The suit was printed by printcostume.com. You've probably heard of it before if you're watching this video. If you haven't, a link to that will be in my description. But the suit was printed by Print Costume, and the pattern was by the incredible McLean Krieger. Now, unfortunately, McLean Krieger is no longer with us, but he was a big inspiration to me, and he's pretty much the reason that I got started making these face shells. And because of that, I really wanted to use his pattern and just really honor his work. But anyway, let's pivot and we will talk a bit about this face shell. So the face shell was actually made by me, the 3D model. It was 3D modeled by me, and it was also 3D printed and finished by me. So as you can see here, it's got the kind of gold, lenses with the blue frames, which they're a nice metallic blue. I may end up redoing this face shell in the future, but for now, it's good enough for me. If you would like to purchase the 3D model for this face shell and you'd like to print one off yourself, I'll put a link to that in the description. It'll be on my Etsy store. Okay, so here is the suit itself. As you can see, it is mostly puff painted, at least on the front side here. It really shines nicely in the light here. You can see that. It looks really cool. And that's kind of the primary way of getting that screen printed look is by puff painting your suit, which I'm sure you already knew that, but just in case you didn't, puff painting is a great substitute for screen printing, which most of us don't have the money to sort of, make screens and then buy the ink and then cure it. It's just a whole, very expensive process. This is a great kind of budget way, more time consuming way of making your suit just as accurate. You can tell from the neck opening there that this is on a white fabric suit. I do also have this suit and this specific pattern in a color fabric suit, but I kind of wanted to use this white fabric one because I've never puff painted a full suit before, and so I didn't know how it was gonna go. Luckily, it's been turning out very nice so far. You can really see that really cool looking hex pattern all painted up, and yeah, it's just coming out really nice. Now, you can kind of see what I have left to work on. As you can see, the back is mostly unpainted. I still have to do the entire back essentially, as well as some parts of the arms. I've started to work on the gloves. You can definitely see it there. So yeah, it's probably about, I'd say it's about 60% painted as it currently stands, might be closer to 50%, but it's a super rewarding process in my opinion, just because of how that shine really kind of comes out. So for this suit specifically, I have used the Tulip brand Slick paint. So it looks just like puffy paint when you go to buy it, but it actually says the words Slick on the bottle. The only difference is I've heard that Slick is just a little bit more glossy. And so for this suit in particular, I really wanted to prioritize the shine and the kind of rubbery kind of look of it. And as for the colors I just used the regular red. And then here, I'll kind of give you guys a little bit of an even closer look of this suit here. See that real nice shine. Looks so cool. For the suit specifically, I used red Slick paint and then the black Slick paint. And for the blue sections, it's actually more accurate to use black. But I wanted to kind of honor McLean Krieger with this suit, and his Amazing Spider-Man 1 suit actually used blue, I think it was navy blue Slick paint for the blue sections. So you kind of have a blue on blue as opposed to a black on blue. Is it accurate to the movie? no, it's technically not accurate. It's actually more accurate to use the black. But this was kind of a tribute to someone that I really looked up to, and so I wanted to make that specific choice. And it's actually, once it dries, it's actually a very dark, like, it's a very, very dark blue. And so it actually does look almost like a black color. Now, as far as shoes go, the TASM 1 suit, if you didn't know, has some very iconic footwear. And so these shoes are actually very difficult to find. However, in the last couple years, there have been some very good 3D models that have been developed by a couple of people for a fairly affordable price. So I'm probably going to experiment with a flexible PLA. I have some flexible PLA right now. And so eventually, once I get around to it, I'm going to print those off and see if they work as a good substitute for those Asics Dirt Dog 3s. The shoes on the TASM 1 suit are the Asics Dirt Dog 3s. And unfortunately, these shoes are no longer in production, and many of them have been used already for cosplay purposes for this specific costume. So that is pretty much it for the kind of breakdown and kind of just the me talking about this suit portion. Now I'll kind of throw it on and give you guys maybe a little bit of a montage of poses, then we'll wrap up the video.
Oh man, okay.
So, as you guys can probably tell, the suit looks great. It looks super cool. It looks really accurate to the movie. However, there are some problems that still need to be fixed here. You can see the neck here was sewn quite loose by Print Costume. This isn't a problem with just my suit. It's a problem with basically every suit that I've seen them make. The neck just ends up being really baggy for some reason. If you order an attached mask with this suit, which is where you can't basically remove it like this, it'll be all, attached to the neck, then it seems like the problem is totally fixed. But it's just this detached mask piece, they just sew really loose for whatever reason. It's not a big problem. I'm still deciding whether or not I'm going to hem this, or there is another method that I've seen a couple people do, which is if you put snaps on basically just a few kind of sew-in snaps on just around the neckline, and then if you attach the other side to the mask, let me just show you right here. If you attach one to like the mask on the underside, then you'll still have essentially a seamless joint. I haven't figured out which one of those methods I'm going to be doing. I can sew in snaps. It doesn't really make a big difference to me. I just need to decide what I want to do. But now you guys get a good indication of how the puff paint looks. Here, I'll show you this side. I've basically painted the entire front, and I've only painted a bit of the back. And you can see how much of a difference that makes there. See? It's kind of matte and then shiny. Matte and then shiny. So there you go. That's kind of the biggest way of me showing you how much of a difference this puff paint makes. Now, if you do want to be more accurate to the movie and you actually want a screen printed suit, there are a couple of makers that do TASM 1 suits, whether it be in kit form or in fully finished suit form. Those would be the amazing Spider Lab. I believe actually SuitUp.pe is doing them as well. And then there's also Brian Alzate. I think all three of them are pretty reputable, and they all have really nice looking TASM 1 suits. So that's just if you want something that's a little bit more accurate. You will be paying a massive price tag. Most of those suits are, at least for Spider Labs, is I think in the range of $2,000. Same with SuitUp.pe's. Not sure how much Brian Alzate's is. I can link his page though if you'd like to DM him on Instagram. One more thing that I'd like to touch on before I wrap up this video is making sure that you stretch your suit when you puff paint it. As you can see here on the shoulders, it is actually starting to get a little bit faded. That's because the puff paint negates a lot of the stretch. I have been stretching my suit. I've been putting a piece of cardboard in the chest, but even still, it's just, the puff paint just does not stretch as much as regular spandex, and so you may run into this issue of it not stretching enough. There is a way to fix this, however, and it's a process called over dyeing, which is where you essentially use an airbrush, and you can kind of airbrush the backside, which will essentially dye the fabric and negate the kind of white fabric showing through. I think you have to be careful with this. I've only done this a couple of times, so you have to be careful not to use too much, or else you may change the color slightly of the suit itself. But in my attempts, I've done it like 2 times now, and it's worked great. It's basically entirely negated the kind of white fabric showing through. So that's an option if your suit is just a little bit tight and you kind of want to make sure that the color is consistent. But with that, guys, I think that pretty much wraps up this video. This has been my Amazing Spider-Man 1 costume, which is now about 60% completed. If you have been following me on any of my socials, you'll know that I've been working on this for quite a bit, but I took a little bit of a break to focus on some other projects. But now, after Spider Mondays, I'm right back in it, and I'm planning to finish this suit in the next probably 3 months or so. I may post another update when it's mostly done, or I will post a video when it is fully completed. So make sure that you subscribe to the channel so that you can be notified when that video drops. So this is the end of the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, if you could leave a like and subscribe, maybe even leave a comment, it would be greatly appreciated, as that really helps me grow the channel. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.